Imagine losing everything then inheriting a fortune from a man you barely knew. Sarah's life was a disaster until a mysterious benefactor left her everything. But there's a catch, and a love story you won't believe. The town of Harmony Creek was dying one boarded-up storefront at a time. For Sarah, it was more personal. Her café, the daily grind, was on its last legs, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee barely masking the scent of desperation. She poured another cup, the foam wilting like her hopes. Another slow day. Huh, old man Hemlock wheezed as he settled onto his usual stool. Sarah managed a weak smile, just enjoying the quiet before the lunchtime rush. Mr. Hemlock, he chuckled, a sound like dry leaves skittering across pavement. Lunchtime rush? Honey, the only rush around here is folks rushing to get out of Harmony Creek. He wasn't wrong. The town's one thriving industries had vanished, replaced by empty factories and broken promises. Sarah had poured her heart and soul and every penny she had into the daily grind, hoping to revive a flicker of community spirit. But even the best latte couldn't compete with economic despair. That evening, after another dismal day, Sarah was locking up when a sleek black car pulled up. A sharply dressed woman emerged, her heels clicking on the cracked sidewalk. Sarah Miller, I'm Ms. Davenport from Hawthorne Stern. I need to speak with you about a matter of inheritance. Sarah blinked, suspicion warring with a sliver of hope. Inheritance. I don't think you have the right person. My parents left me nothing but good values and a mountain of student debt. Ms. Davenport offered a tight smile. This isn't from your parents. It's from Mr. Arthur Blackwood. Sarah's breath hitched. Arthur Blackwood? The reclusive billionaire who'd abandoned Harmony Creek decades ago, only to make his fortune in New York City? The man who was practically a myth in these parts? I barely knew him, Sarah stammered. He used to come into the cafe sometimes. Years ago, quiet, always reading. Mr. Blackwood passed away last week, Miss Davenport said, her voice devoid of emotion. And he named you as the sole beneficiary of his estate. Sarah felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. That's impossible. There must be some mistake. There is no mistake. Ms. Miller, Mr. Blackwood's will is quite clear. You inherit everything: his penthouse in New York City, his investments, and Blackwood Industries. The word swam before Sarah's eyes. Blackwood Industries? The global tech conglomerate. This couldn't be real. This had to be some bizarre, cruel joke. But why me? Ms. Davenport shrugged. Mr. Blackwood was a private man. His reasons are his own. However, there is one condition to the inheritance. Sarah's heart sank. Of course there was a catch. Nothing was ever this easy. What is it? Mr. Blackwood stipulated that you must revitalize Harmony Creek. You must use a portion of the inheritance to bring jobs back to the town and restore its former glory. Sarah stared at Ms. Davenport, the weight of the world suddenly pressing down on her shoulders. Revitalize Harmony Creek. It was a hopeless task, a Sisyphean endeavor. But it was also Arthur Blackwood's dying wish, and somehow, inexplicably, he'd entrusted it to her. I don't know anything about running a global corporation, Sarah confessed, or revitalizing a town. I just make coffee. Miss Davenport raised an eyebrow. Mr. Blackwood anticipated that. He left instructions for you to meet with someone who can help you, Mr. Ethan Hayes, his protégé and current CEO of Blackwood Industries. Ethan Hayes. Sarah had seen his pictured in magazines, the handsome, ruthless businessman who had taken Blackwood Industries to even greater heights after Arthur Blackwood as semi-retirement. The man was a legend, a force of nature. Why would he waste his time with her and her small-town problems? He'll never agree to this, Sarah said, her voice laced with doubt. Mr. Hayes is obligated to assist you, Ms. Miller. It's part of Mr. Blackwood's will. He'll be expecting you at Blackwood Industries headquarters in New York City tomorrow morning. The next morning, Sarah found herself standing in the lobby of Blackwood Tower, a glass and steel monolith that scraped the sky. She felt like a misplaced extra in a movie. Her worn jeans and simple blouse a stark contrast to the power suits and designer dresses that swirled around her. She clutched her small, battered purse, trying to project an air of confidence she didn't feel. The receptionist, a statuesque blonde with an icy gaze, barely glanced at her. Miss Miller, Mr. Hayes will see you now. Sarah was led through a maze of corridors to a corner office with panoramic views of the city. The room was minimalist and modern, all sharp angles and polished surfaces. Behind a massive desk sat Ethan Hayes. He was even more imposing in person than in photographs. His dark hair was impeccably styled, his jawline sharp, his eyes intense. He rose as she entered, his expression unreadable. Miss Miller, thank you for coming. His voice was deep and resonant, with a hint of steel beneath the surface. He gestured for her to sit. Sarah perched on the edge of a chair, feeling like she was about to be interrogated. I understand you're now in charge of everything, Ethan said, his gaze sweeping over her. It must be quite a shock. It is, Sarah admitted. I still can't believe it. Arthur was an eccentric man, Ethan said, a flicker of something that might have been affection crossing his face. He had his reasons for everything he did. Ms. Davenport told me about the condition in the will revitalizing Harmony Creek, Sarah said, cutting to the chase. I'm afraid I don't know where to start. Ethan leaned back in his chair, his fingers steepled in front of him. Harmony Creek, it's been a long time since I've been back there. Sarah detected a faint trace of nostalgia in his voice. You're from Harmony Creek? Ethan nodded. I grew up there. Arthur gave me my first job, sweeping floors at the Blackwood factory. He saw something in me, gave me a chance. I owe him everything. Then you understand why I have to try to fulfill his wish, Sarah said, her voice gaining strength. Ethan's gaze sharpened. I do. But I also understand the realities of business. Harmony Creek is a lost cause. It's not a viable investment. Sarah's heart sank. She had expected this, but it still stung to hear it from him. So you're refusing to help me? Ethan hesitated, his expression conflicted. I'm saying that throwing money at the problem won't solve it. It requires a different approach, a personal touch. He stood up and walked to the window, gazing out at the city. Arthur always believed in people. He believed in giving them opportunities, in empowering them to create their own success. He turned back to Sarah, his eyes filled with a strange intensity. I'm willing to help you, Miss Miller, but not by writing a check and walking away. I'm willing to go back to Harmony Creek with you, to work with you, side by side, to try to bring it back to life. Sarah stared at him stunned. Ethan Hayes, the CEO of a global corporation, was offering to move back to her dying town? It was absurd, impossible, but the sincerity in his eyes was undeniable. Why would you do that? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Ethan hesitated again, his gaze dropping to the floor. Arthur was more than just a mentor to me. He was like a father, and I also have my own reasons for wanting to go back. He looked up, his eyes meeting hers. Besides, Ms. Miller, I have a confession to make. I've always admired your dedication to Harmony Creek. Your cafe is the only thing that's kept the town from completely falling apart. Sarah felt a blush creep up her neck. You've been to the Daily Grind? Ethan nodded, a faint smile playing on his lips. A few times. I always made sure to be discreet. Sarah's mind raced. Ethan Hayes, the powerful CEO, had been secretly visiting her cafe, watching her from afar. It was unsettling and strangely flattering. So what do you say, Miss Miller? Ethan asked, his voice regaining its professional edge. Are you willing to accept my help? Sarah looked at him, really looked at him for the first time. Beneath the polished exterior, she saw a man who was just as lost and searching as she was. A man who was tied to Harmony Creek by a thread of loyalty and a hint of something more. She took a deep breath and made her decision. Yes, Mr. Hayes, she said, her voice firm. I accept your help, but on one condition: you call me Sarah. And I call you Ethan. A genuine smile spread across Ethan's face. Deal, Sarah. Now, let's get to work. Harmony Creek isn't going to save itself. The following week, Sarah and Ethan arrived in Harmony Creek, their sleek SUV a jarring contrast to the dilapidated buildings and potholed roads. The town looked even more bleak than Sarah remembered. The faces of the few residents they passed were etched with weariness and resignation. As they pulled up to the Daily Grind, Sarah felt a familiar pang of despair. The cafe looked tired and worn, its paint peeling, its windows grimy. Ethan stepped out of the car and surveyed the scene, his expression thoughtful. We have a lot of work to do, he said, his voice determined. But I think we can do it. He turned to Sarah, his eyes filled with a quiet confidence that gave her a flicker of hope. Where do we start? Sarah smiled, a genuine smile this time. With a cup of coffee, of course. The Daily Grind is still the heart of Harmony Creek. We just need to pump some life back into it. As they walked into the cafe, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a business venture. It was a chance for her to find her purpose, to save her town, and maybe, just maybe, to find love in the most unexpected place. What she didn't know was that her ex-fiancé had returned to town and planned to make her life a living hell. The twist, she couldn't see it coming.